Hi, my name is Rick Howell. I'm a TV guy, and this show is called Talk Back to Television. It's about the business of television, how we make the programs, how we distribute the programs, and mostly how we pay for the programs. Because if we can't pay for the shows, there's nothing to watch. Stay tuned. Good morning. This is Talk Back to Television, and I'm here with Darren Finney from Leap Media, and he is a new executive director of the content integration team. Darren, how are you?
Great. Rick, pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you. And for everybody to know, I got to point my finger there. See that's Leap is now a sponsor of Talkback. Okay. Darren, I need to know, first of all, what is Leap Media?
Sure. Well, so Leap Media Group, which was founded by Chris Bizzurro and Stuart Lipson, is really a new type of end-to-end micro media network that, Rick, is really truly unique in the video ecosystem. Because with one point of contact, Leap, we're integrating brands into original long-form content that's either supplied by professional global producers or content we produce for them or that we co-produce with them. And then we maximize reach on targeted media platforms from streaming, including fast channels, to linear and now TV manufacturers, OEMs. And the scheduling on those platforms is completely based on the producer's target, programming genre, and ROI needs. So, for example, if you have a 30-minute culinary show targeting women, and we do, we may place that show on YouTube, and Lifetime. But Leap is also committed to helping those shows succeed. So as another part of the model, we use these multiple media channels and platforms to then promote the shows we placed for the producers to drive tune-in. Finally, Leap's Media Network takes over to place advertising on those shows. And that's basically the 360 end-to-end model, and I think very unusual in the media ecosystem today.
All right, so now the next question was going to be, how do you make money if all of a sudden I just realized you're kind of double dipping? Because you're making money from the producer of the show at the beginning where you're getting yourself integrated and set up and distributed, but then you're also selling advertising at the back end. Is that about right?
Well, we're buying the programming, as Chris
is buying the program.
We're buying that content, and then we're delivering it to viewers on these platforms. So really, everybody wins because everybody has at the end. The producers are at the center. Chris likes to say we're sort of a D2B company, D2P rather, direct to producer, because they're the center, we're the buyers. Now, interestingly enough, what Will and I are doing are sort of on the selling side, because now we're integrating brands into that model. And if I may, I can tell you a little bit about how we've evolved over time.
You got a couple minutes.
Which is what got us here. So since you last spoke to Chris on the show, as I mentioned, there have been a couple of really cool developments. First, we now curate blocks of thematic programs that we place for those producers. And then two, we're also now just starting to integrate consumer brands into long-form content so they can communicate their key product messaging or calls to action into our shows. And I can explain a little bit how those work, because I think it really fits into what the marketplace is demanding today. First, the programming block. So what's happened over the last several months is that a number of the producers and the types of programs coming to Leap have been increasing, either to air their own shows, co-produce with them, or have Leap actually manage the production process. And because there were some common genres that were emerging in these developments and acquisition of this content, it suddenly they realized that it was a natural decision to craft thematic blocks from these shows, which is actually great because one thing that's important about the environment today is that viewers, when they discover genre-based content that they're really, truly passionate about, there's a lot of research data demonstrating they become more deeply engaged.
Absolutely.
They stay longer, right? And then they act if there's a call to action message, especially
Yep.
let's say through a QR code, right? And during the shows, we can place those at opportune times. Call to action is actually a very important part of the storytelling experience that our Leap shows take to air, and it really helps make it more valuable for them as long as the content is also valuable in it.
Tell me right now, you are essentially a producer and distributor and an integrator of content made for fans, right?
A great way of putting it.
If I'm a fan, I'm engaged in the content.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And we're one-stop shopping to do it.
All right. We're going to switch over to your partner, Will Blair. So I'm going to send him a text and ask him to go ahead and join. And Darren Finney, we'll talk to you later. Thank you very much. Go ahead and sign off.
Pleasure.
And look at that. Through the magic of television, there's Will Blair, who is
truly magic.
Executive Director, as your partner Darren is, of the content integration team. Okay, Darren took us through the broad model of what Leap does and what you folks are now doing with producers and content. And sounds like it's more than product placement, but actually then distributing and selling advertising into the programs. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your customers and what are they doing?
Yeah, sure. It's early going for Darren and myself. I think he may have mentioned we just joined Leap. Chris Pizzurro and Stuart Lipson have built a pretty unique proposition for brand marketers and for content developers. Really, it's an end-to-end solution that Darren took you through. In the culinary block, we have a really powerful culinary block that has already worked with big brands like LG and Walmart and Ghirardelli. We also have a really big partner in the travel sector in Expedia, who's really taken advantage of the original content capability. And that's where we'll partner with them in their studio to literally develop branded content with them, not just place them in contextually relevant content. So those are some of the bigger brands we're working with. I say we, really what Chris and Stuart have built to date. And we're in charge now with taking that to another level and more aggressively going to market and finding other brands who are like-minded who want to leverage these capabilities.
Tell us why brands would want to work with you. I mean, what do you do that they need?
Well, when you work with Leap Media Group, as a brand, you're always, even on the pure media play side of things, you're always going to get a highly targeted and highly customized solution. So the new content integration team is just carrying that approach into working with brand marketers to first, identify their unique business challenges and objectives, and then, collaborating with them to develop a wide range of custom design solutions around the content. So we'll always have the straightforward ad insertion capability, which Darren, I'm sure, briefed you on.
Yep.
Very targeted. Again, our mantra is the right platform, the right audience at the right time. But beyond that, we're looking to develop, enhancements within the content itself. So that could range from, highly pre-produced organic product placements, integrations with our talent. We're very compelling on camera. He'd probably talk to you about Peter Greenberg and travel. We have some really fantastic talent that are ready and willing to work with brand partners to activate. In post-production, we can do really unique things as well. So we have a lot of great content that's already been captured. We can do graphic overlays, take advantage of things like QR codes to create prompts for users, viewers, if you will, to activate and ideally, drive engagement and the end result being transactions.
All right. So now the one word that I used that Darren seemed to perk up his ears at was fans. In point of fact, if you have a fan of a certain genre of programming or a fan of travel to Florida or a fan of trying to figure out how to use that thing in my kitchen called an oven, you're going to have a more engaged consumer all the way down the line. And very much in the same way that sports teams and sports leagues count on their fans as being, to a certain extent, kind of nutcases about the content that they like. So you're tapping into that emotional connection on the part of the consumers. Does that mean that we're going to see a lot more of this? What does the future really look like for what Leap Media Group is doing?
It's a great question, and you hit the nail on the head. Fanatics of culinary, and that could be baking, that could be grilling, that could be food culture. We're going to find those fans. And the key is not just finding those fans, but the right place at the right time, right? With the right message and the right environment. We're looking at verticals like business. I come from a sports background, and I was pleased to hear Chris talk about, before I even joined, their desire to explore sports as a vertical, which I think makes a ton of sense. There's so many directions you can go in that space with short form and longer form content. But really what's beautiful, Rick, is that it can start with a brand. So we're already actively looking at these verticals I mentioned, business and sports, and we're in culinary and travel, but the right brand with the right vision might lead us to a new content thematic based on a natural fit or what a brand may be looking to do. That could be, any number of new verticals that we haven't even thought of yet, depending on what a brand wants to do. Fitness, obviously, business we talked about, that could have a number of offshoots, but we see a big green field in front of us in terms of having brands lead us to what they want to do. And maybe the other point is we have verticals, we have what we call, the culinary block, the travel block. The content doesn't have to necessarily reside within a block of like content. It can be a standalone program that we exploit on behalf of a brand with a brand partner.
Well, you know what? That's exciting stuff. And I love the fact that we are using the medium and creating new ways to connect with consumers and connect with brands. And, somewhere along the line, we get to make a little bit of money, and there's nothing wrong with that. So guess what?
Well said.
Thank you, Will Blair. We will be coming back and talking to your group at Leap Media and finding out what's going on. And for everybody else, we'll see everybody next week on Talk Back to Television. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rick.